Canada needs a coherent policy to tackle the Islamist agenda. And it won't surprise you to know that this column was written by Anthony Furey, one of the few columnists in Canada who has the courage or permission to write about such subjects. Most other journalists are getting ready in advance for when M103, the anti-Islamophobia motion, gets real teeth. It's rare to even talk about Islamism, let alone what to do about it. And joining us now via Skype from his office in Toronto is Anthony Furey to do just that. Great to see you again, Anthony.
Hey, Ezra, great to be back.
You know, I read your item about, there are a few things that stood out to me. The first is, at least in the United States, they have Senate hearings, and yeah, they bicker and there's two parties, but they're willing to at least use the phrase Islamic terrorism or Islamism. I don't think we use that in the Canadian Parliament. Certainly the Liberals would never use those words. And I put it to you, half of Conservatives are too shy to speak the truth about it themselves.
Yeah, no kidding. And I think the answer to all of these concerns about political Islam and radical Islam in our societies is we need to talk about it more and unpack the terms. What does Islamism mean? It means the political implementation of Islam is something that becomes enshrined as the rule of law, Sharia law, and things like that. And I think most average Canadians would say, well, I don't want to see that happening in society. But the problem is you're not even allowed to talk about nuances within this very large religion that is not a monolith. They instantly want to label you, xenophobic or Islamophobic or some new buzzword that they've come up with to deal with it. And I think that's a real detriment to our public policy conversations, that we just can't have a robust discussion about this very political issue, Ezra, as they have in the U.S. and as they're having in many European countries right now. Yeah.
Well, I should tell you, in the U.K., they have even less discussion about it, certainly in the media and on Facebooks. I mean, I just saw the Sussex police boasting that they put someone in prison for saying anti-Muslim things on Facebook. He'll surely be killed there. By the way, most UK prisons are run by Muslim gangs. It's a strictly halal life in there. He won't last long. So yeah, I think Canada's losing that freedom. The UK has pretty much lost it. Tommy gets beat up anytime he speaks about it. I want to refer to something interesting in your piece. I didn't really know about this. I guess I didn't know my history well. You mentioned that in 1946, a American diplomat in Moscow named George Kennan wrote an 8,000-word telegram back to the United States called the Long Telegram. That's how it became nicknamed, and it later turned into an essay on the subject, outlining the threat that the Soviet Union was about to pose to the world, their plans for expansion and domination, to build an evil empire, as Reagan would later call it, and suggesting ideas to contain it. It was sort of a blueprint for how to think about the Soviet Union after the Second World War, where they had been temporary allies against Hitler. Is there anyone in any government you can think of, the United States, Canada, the UK, even France, or even Israel, is there anyone you can think of in some government position that could have a similar manifesto to the Long Telegram of 1946 about the Soviets? Is there anyone like that today?
No, and this is very troubling because it was that memo that, as you accurately put it, paved the way for America, Democrats and Republicans alike, to be able to beat back the communist menace and to triumph and to make sure that communism did not flourish around the world. And there's a quote in my column, George Kennan writes it quite well, basically saying we need to have a mature and sober assessment of the facts, look at what their goals are, what their philosophy is, their agenda is, how they plan to implement that agenda in broader society, and then ask ourselves, how should we respond to it? And then he as a public servant, he responds with his suggestions, but passes the torch on to the administration, and they move forward with it. I think we need to get to a mature point right now in Canada and in the United States and in the United Kingdom where we can have that same conversation about political Islam.
That's an excerpt from my daily TV show, The Ezra Levant Show. Normally it's behind a paywall, but I thought you'd like this video, so we put it on YouTube. If you want to subscribe to watch the daily show every day, including always 2 interviews a day, and I read my hate mail, just click on this screen and become a premium member.